Saturday morning, the Experts program continues here on Power Talk Radio, and we are bringing in our tech expert to help us kick things off today. That's Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group. Luis, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic, my friend. How are you?
I'm well, and I'm looking at today's weather forecast for this Saturday, the 25th, and I believe we are supposed to have a sunny day. Let's see what it says here. Yes, a sunny day with a high of 55 in Monterey.
That would be excellent.
Yes, because we've had enough rain. I'm done with this rain. I don't know about you, but I think I've had enough rain.
I agree. I think we got all the rain we need for a while.
Yeah. Hey, TikTok's in the news. Before we get to that, I want to ask you a question. We've been talking about the issues of security when people are using credit cards and debit cards at point-of-purchase locations, whether it's swiping or inserting your card at a point of pay at a gas station or a store. Or, of course, to me, the most dangerous places are those that don't have any doors on them, right? Like gas stations, those pumps and so forth. But I notice at many point-of-purchase locations now, you have the tap and pay option. I don't know if anything's foolproof, but is that a much safer way for people to go with debit and credit cards to use the tap and pay rather than inserting the card?
Yes, it's much safer, and it's much more preferred by both the shops and the credit card companies, because the tap and pay, one, it's a much more secure system because you have to verify who you are before you can get to that app on your phone to access that capability, whether that's entering a PIN or entering biometric like mine. I use my thumbprint or my face to unlock my phone and then go to the app, and I have to apply yet again a thumbprint to get to the app so that I can use it. So that it's significantly more secure, impossible to steal. If somebody steals your phone and they don't have your fingers or they don't have your code, they can't do anything about it. And the transaction itself is NFC, so it's a much more secure encrypted transaction that does not allow for any of the credit card information, such as the number, anything that's stored on a typical credit card, to be stolen. So that's why when you use those systems, they don't require a signature and you're in and out without any fuss or bother.
And then the other advantage too, I notice, like particularly with debit cards, if you use the tap and pay at a gas pump, like 99% of them allow you to bypass the PIN by just hitting the enter button when that option comes up. And that is also a way of really protecting yourself. And I would say this, if you go anywhere where you attempt to use a tap and pay, or anywhere where they don't allow you to bypass your PIN, then don't shop with those people anymore.
Yeah.
Basically.
Good advice.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to TikTok here. TikTok CEO was in the hot seat Thursday as he appeared in front of Congress. And we have some very real concerns as a nation about TikTok because it is basically owned by the Chinese government. And the concerns are that it can be a national security risk, among other things. But what were your takeaways from this talk yesterday?
One basic thing is that Congress people really don't understand how technology works. Some of the questions were a little ludicrous, for lack of a better term, but nonetheless, I kind of understood where they were coming from. And I, like a lot of my peers in the industry, share a concern that TikTok, despite the fact that it claims that they're independent, that they have no ties to Communist Party in China, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, there's been demonstrated instances in the past where they've had to admit that people that were not authorized had access to consumer information from some of their users on more than one occasion. And, they kind of shrug their shoulders and say, yeah, we won't let that happen again.
Right.
And that's what we know. So we don't know how this data is collected. We don't know who has access to it. They may not even know who has access to it. But the number one issue that people keep on pointing out is that China's laws are very specific about the fact that if you are a company that's based in China, and ByteDance, which owns part of TikTok, is based in China, the Chinese government has the right to ask you to reveal information without you to publicly letting people know that you've done that. So they can force TikTok to give them information, and TikTok is under threat of criminal sanctions, unable to reveal that. So that puts them in a tough position, but it means that we don't know what could really happen. And that's what a lot of people are concerned about.
Well, the idea that there is any business in China that's independent of the Chinese government is laughable.
Yeah, exactly.
And then getting back to our members of Congress and the questions that they ask that in many respects are just laughable. This has been going on as long as we've had an internet world. And you wonder, are these people ever going to get up to speed to where they are conversant with these technologies so that they can ask better questions, but not only be able to ask better questions, but have some respect from the people that they are asking the questions of. I mean, I have to imagine that when these tech people come in and they sit down in front of these committees, and Mr. or Mrs. Congresswoman, who's, a million years old, and to them, high technology is like when their phones went from dial to push button. It's almost like, how do you expect them to take these people in Congress and Senate seriously when they fundamentally do not understand and don't seem to be interested in understanding how and why the technology works?
Yeah, you figure that they would have people on staff that they could designate as experts and, rely on them heavily to formulate the questions that they could ask and the kind of responses to expect. But sometimes, like all political critters, they get up there and they want to do a lot of grandstanding and
right.
They don't want the facts to get in the way.
They would be better served by having some aide who's 1/3 their age actually sit in front of the microphone and ask the questions.
Absolutely.
And so would the public as well, because really, if you think about it from the standpoint of they are there to represent our interests and our national security, if they really fundamentally don't understand how these platforms work, they're not able to really ask the questions and hone in the areas that are most important to all of us and will do the most good for the public. So, I mean, I just think this is another congressional government dog and pony show that isn't going to go anywhere.
Absolutely. And even though there are real concerns about TikTok, I don't think they're taking it as seriously as they need to take it. And this is a bipartisan issue. This is not like a Republican or Democratic issue. This is like, hey, this impacts everybody. Let's work together to figure it out.
Well, I hope that they will. Now, are there any more hearings scheduled, or was this just a one-off?
No, he's going to be back in front of the Senate here in the next few weeks, and then I'm sure more hearings coming down the road.
And does it look like Washington's already made up its mind about TikTok, that they are planning on banning it?
I think if you let the adults in the room make the decisions and there was no political grandstanding from any side, that it would have already happened.
Okay.
So we're getting there. I think the White House believes it should be banned. I think a lot of Congress people feel the same way. It's just a matter of making sure that it's done in a way that is legal and enforceable as well.
Yeah, how would you ban an app like that from, say, somebody here in the U.S. being able to bring it up on their phone?
It would be really easy because you would just tell all the stores, whether it's the Google store or the Apple App Store, that you just remove the app from the store and remove the app from the phones, and it would just disappear.
Okay, so it's a lot easier to do than I think.
Blanket exclusions like this are really easy to do. Where you get into trouble is when you try to piecemeal it, like let's say the state of California bans TikTok, but no other state in the United States does. That becomes almost impossible to enforce.
Okay. All right. Great points. Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, has joined us today. Online, you'll find them at alvareztg.com. At AlvarezTG is their Twitter handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.